Hey everyone, what we're going to do today is a jig I call my Foxy flip. It's a do-it-yourself Strike King Bitsy flip. Uh, I do have a video on here for a do-it-yourself Bitsy bug, and what I use is the same head as this, which is a weedless banana head. And while it says banana, as you can see, this is a really neat little jig head because it's thin and it really gets through cover well. But it's also broad enough here on the bottom that it hits and it'll stand up, and you can hop this, um, even short drag it pretty aggressively, and it won't like tip over right away. I really like this head though. This is good for some moderate shoreline cover, and really good head to build this type of jig on. So what we have in the vise is a 1/4 ounce weedless banana head, and we got a 1/0 owner 5316 jig hook. Now this is a 2x strong. This is the 5313 on steroids. Really good solid hook. I throw this on a casting rod. I throw it on a 7'1" medium power casting rod, 12 to 15 pound line, and it has the full size weed guard in it. An FG30, 1/8 inch diameter. This doesn't have the smaller one that I like using a lot on these mini flipping jigs. Really good for early in the year when them craws are smaller. So we're going to get started here. Again, this is something that will become a player very shortly. So we're going to start with some black 210 denier flat wax nylon thread as always. Sound like a broken record, I know. And cut the excess off there and get a couple more wraps. And we're going to start by adding some of this black Arctic foxtail. And we're going to add it to, I have a real long one in there for some reason. We're going to add, we're going to put this on it. It's maybe an inch, anywhere from an inch to 1.5 inches beyond the bend of the hook works. So mark it, trim it off, tie it on. Just loose wraps because it's hard to, unlike bucktail where you could just push and have it go around, Arctic foxtail, while it's really nice to tie with, doesn't like doing that. It doesn't like following the thread. It stays put where you have it, so you gotta really manipulate the stuff to get it to where you want it to go. You got one section in there. Now I'm going to take another clump of it. Because it doesn't like going around, I like putting it in multiple spots. Once I get it situated, then I work it around and try to even it out. And don't worry about getting too much of it on one side of the hook, because after you're finished, you can straighten that out. I got a couple long ones in here, and I pulled the hair out a little bit too aggressively. So now we're going to wrap this up a little bit, tighten it down, tighten her up, and see where we're at. We look pretty decent with it. A little bit I'm going to put on the back end and on the side just to make sure we don't have any light spots. It is going to be a real easy one, but I figured I'd put it on here because it is effective for what we're going to use it for. And this is going to be really visible in the water. And don't worry about your collar just yet. You can actually make it a little bit larger because we're going to add to this. So now our Arctic foxtail's tied in. The next step, which is going to be a little different than normal, is we're going to add some Arctic fox body hair. And we're going to do it in a color called Kingfisher Blue. And I just want this to go up around the collar, maybe down to the middle of the hook to the barb there, not too far past. So once I get that where I like it, that's one of the reasons I'm going to start this collar up on the top of the jig, is because it's going to help me set the distance for this material. Just like everything else, like I said, you're going to have to work this, because just like the tail, the body hair is the same way. You have to work it around. It doesn't go as easily as bucktail does. Now, I'm going to get another clump the same way. It works. And you want to make sure you get it that it looks like you don't have any seams. Like you could see where the transition between material, where you place that material at, you don't want it to show up. You want it to be pretty even across the board. And again, we're going to lay this in, mark it, and cut it off. We're going to work it around. And we're going to tie it in. Get our collar nice and tight here. Like I said, you didn't have to worry earlier on about tying that Arctic foxtail down low and then going up too high, because again, we have to do that to put this collar on. And all your action is going to come from the Arctic foxtail. That's where it's all you're going to get the majority of your action from. This is just going to be a color shift to make it more visible in the water. And again, with this hair, with two different styles of hair on here, I'm going to really tighten this collar down and add to it to make sure it doesn't pull out, because this is going to go in some cover, that's for sure. Now we're going to whip finish it. And then we're going to add a trailer as well as a weed guard. Cinch down nice and tight. Trim that off. Now we're going to take some loon. And again, if you want to use Sally Hansen's or super glue, that's fine. I use the loon because it works for my needs. It dries faster, and it doesn't leave a residue if I get my clumsy fingers uh, end up putting half of it on the hair, it won't leave a residue. So it works for me. But Sally Hansen's I used for years. It's fine. There's no reason that you can't use anything like that. So we got two things left here. First thing is our weed guard. I'll take this out. And we'll throw our weed guard in here. Now, the weed guard is going to be a little long because I'm not going to trim it yet. But for those that want to ask the question, I'm going to answer it right now. Yes, I do trim the weed guard up. I push it down and then I trim it off right at the barb, where the barb of the hook is. So there's our weed guard. Now we're going to put the trailer on that I use, which is, this is a net bait tiny pocket chunk, black blue flake. They thread this on, know right where it's coming out at. And of course we have a little wire keeper there, so that'll hold our trailer real secure. Straighten his hair out and then I'll show you what we have. I don't need the clamp, I'll just use the weed guard. There you have it. This is our Foxy flip. Really good little mini flipping jig. Black, blue, and this Kingfisher blue really stands out in the dark. You get that early spring rains and runoff, and you got the dirtier water. Little cool. 45, 55 degree temperatures. This is an absolute killer. Give it a shot. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.